It's late again. You're in bed, the room is dark, but your brain's acting like it just got invited to a party. Thoughts are showing up, uninvited, bumping into each other, like old friends and awkward exes at a high school reunion. You're physically still, but inside, it's like someone left all the lights on. The worst part is that you've been waiting for this moment to just lie down, close your eyes, and drift. You did the work. You sent the emails. You crossed out most of the list. And now, finally, the day has nothing left to ask of you. But instead of peace, you get a brain still stuck in group chat mode, bouncing from that awkward text you sent this morning, to a meme you saw at lunch, to whether or not you actually locked the front door. Again, you always do, but still. Outside, the neighborhood is quiet, just the low thrum of cars passing in the distance, a fridge humming softly in another room. But inside, you're scrolling your own mind, reflexively, like you forgot how to close the app. There's this weird irony, right? You're too tired to do anything, and yet somehow too wired to rest. Your body is begging for sleep, but your mind is campaigning for one more conversation, one more idea, one more imaginary version of how the day could have gone. Marcus Aurelius once wrote in Meditations, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." You wonder if that applies here, if the very struggle to rest is itself part of the path to rest, but you're too tired to turn that into anything more than a vague, fuzzy thought. It floats in your head like smoke from a candle just blown out. You stare at the ceiling. Remember when you were a kid and sleep just happened to you, when it arrived unannounced, like a blanket thrown over your whole world. Now you have to summon it, coax it, make trade deals with it. You light a candle or listen to ambient rain, or tell yourself, don't check your phone, don't check your phone, don't, and then you're scrolling again. The thing is, sleep is supposed to be simple, but nothing feels simple anymore. Even rest has become a project, something to optimize, something to earn. There's a quote by the Zen teacher, Shunryu Suzuki, that goes, "In the beginner's mind, there are many possibilities, but in the expert's mind, there are few." And maybe that's what's happening. Maybe you've become such an expert at staying alert, at monitoring, producing, managing, that the beginner's openness to stillness is lost. You know what it feels like to sprint toward a deadline. But do you know how to walk away from a day? You shift under the covers, one arm flung out like you're trying to claim more space than your anxiety will allow. Your jaw is tight. Your mind is still busy, rehearsing a conversation you might have with someone tomorrow, or next week, or maybe never. You start to wonder if this is just how it is now, if this twitchy version of restlessness is your new default, if rest has become a museum piece, something you admire from a distance, but never actually touch. But then again, maybe not. Because here's what you do know. This feeling, it's not just you. People are tired all around you. Not the kind of tired that gets fixed with a nap. The kind that lives under your skin. The kind that lingers in your voice, even when you say, "I'm good." You remember something you read once. An old study where scientists deprived rats of rest, not sleep, but true rest, the kind where there's nothing to solve. Those rats died faster than the ones who missed meals. It stuck with you, that fact. Rest isn't a luxury, it's survival. You turn over, the pillow is cool on the other side. You let your fingers play with the hem of the blanket like it's something sacred. You're not looking for deep answers tonight, just enough quiet to let your body believe that it's safe to let go, that nothing urgent will arrive in the next 5 minutes, that you are for now allowed to disappear into your own breath. But even as you begin to settle, there's that one last question, barely a whisper. When did you stop believing that stillness was enough? And you don't have a clean answer for that. Maybe it started when the world got louder, when alerts and opinions and expectations started hitching rides in your pocket. Maybe it was when you tied your self-worth to how much you could finish before dark. Or maybe it was quieter than that. Maybe you just forgot. The street outside glows with that soft orange light only sodium lamps know how to cast. You hear the faint buzz of a neighbor's television through the wall. And for just a moment, the noise in your head pauses. Not gone, but softened. Not because you forced it, but because you noticed it. And maybe that's the way in. You don't have to fix it all tonight, but you can be here, exactly like this. No resolution, just presence. No silence, just enough softness. And as the minutes pass, not perfectly, not magically, but gently, you feel your body whisper back, I'm still here too. You finally start to drift off, and then something in you flinches, like your body's checking in just to make sure you haven't forgotten there's still more to do. Your heart gives a little kick. Not fear exactly, but not peace either. Just that odd sensation, like missing a step on a staircase. This happens more often now, doesn't it? That moment where you try to slow down, and instead of feeling calm, you feel exposed. Like stillness is some kind of gamble, as if doing nothing might cost you something you didn't know you were fighting to keep. You roll onto your side and try again, but it's like there's a part of you that's afraid to be caught resting. Somewhere along the way, you learn that motion meant safety, that as long as you were moving, thinking, solving, checking, fixing, you were useful, you were relevant, you were safe. Stillness, on the other hand, makes you feel like a moving target that suddenly froze, like if you're not performing, you'll disappear. That feeling, it didn't come out of nowhere. It's stitched into every urgent ping from your phone, every highlight reel of people crushing it, every article shouting 10 ways to maximize your downtime. Even rest has a metric now. Taoist philosophy speaks of wu wei, non-doing effortless action. It doesn't mean being lazy. It means aligning so deeply with life that your movements don't fight the flow. But your life doesn't feel like that. You've built so many routines around resisting what is calendars, that overschedule alarms, that interrupt thoughts, that loop. You once read that Thoreau took long walks every day, not as exercise, but as rebellion. He called it sauntering, not hiking, not power walking, just moving with no destination. He believed that a person who couldn't spend 4 hours a day in nature wasn't truly free. 4 hours. You think about how radical that sounds now. You're proud when you get 20 minutes. And even then, a small voice whispers, "You should be doing something productive right now." You wonder when productivity became the price of belonging, when sitting still began to feel like stepping out of the current and letting it rush past you. You're not alone in this. People around you can't sit at red lights without picking up their phones. You've seen toddlers instinctively swipe on books. Somewhere, you once heard that even goldfish now have longer attention spans than the average adult. But you don't blame yourself. Not really. You just notice it now. You notice that the moment you try to truly relax, a part of your body goes on alert, a phantom threat, like the world might forget you if you disappear for too long. You breathe in, count 4, hold, breathe out. Again, still doesn't feel natural, because underneath it all is this other question, one that stings a little. If I'm not constantly improving, will I fall behind? There's no answer, not really. Just another attempt to untangle presence from pressure. Maybe it's like what Kierkegaard meant when he said, "Anxiety is the dizziness of freedom." Maybe the stillness scares you because it leaves too much space. Space to think, space to feel, space to face the version of yourself that only appears when the noise dies down. And sometimes that version is tired in ways that sleep won't fix. You turn over again, the sheets shift, you pull the blanket tighter like armor. It's strange, isn't it? How something as soft as rest can feel like a threat. How the absence of motion starts to feel like failure. It reminds you of those strange moments in childhood when playtime suddenly felt too quiet, like someone had hit pause on the universe. And in that pause, something deeper pressed through. Not fear, not sadness, just awareness that maybe you weren't in control, that maybe you never were. And now, as an adult, maybe that same awareness lives in the cracks of your schedule, in the seconds between tasks, in that heavy pause before you fall asleep. You wonder if you can learn to trust stillness again, if you can sit with the unease and let it just be there without translating it into another task. You think about monks who sweep the same temple floor every morning for decades, not for cleanliness, but for clarity. They're not trying to get somewhere faster. They're simply arriving again and again. What would it mean to arrive in your own life without rushing toward the next thing? You don't know, but maybe asking is enough for tonight. You lie back, arms at your sides now. Let your breath soften, not perfectly, not all at once, just a little. The silence hasn't gone away. The pressure to keep moving hasn't disappeared, but you've named it, sat beside it, and in doing so, you've changed the shape of the night, not by doing more, but by daring to do less. The fan spins overhead. The dark feels a little less sharp. And somewhere inside you, the fight begins to loosen, not because you've won anything, but because you stop needing to. And so the night moves on. Quietly, you keep telling yourself, just one more thing, one more email, one more load of laundry, one more update, and then then you'll rest. But then never really arrives, does it? It's like chasing a mirage. You get close enough to feel like rest is within reach, but by the time you're about to touch it, something else pops up. An errand, a notification, a thought you forgot to write down. The list refreshes before your hands even leave the keyboard. It feels like trying to outswim the horizon, and yet the belief stays rooted in you. Rest must be earned. That, unless you've completely emptied the tank, you don't deserve a refill. You think back to when this started. Maybe it was childhood, when praise came after productivity. Finish your homework, then you can play. Finish your chores, then you can relax. You carried that formula into adulthood without even realizing it. Somewhere, I am valuable got swapped for I am useful. So now, even when the day is technically over, your body doesn't believe it. You try to sit down, and your muscles hum like you're supposed to be somewhere else, doing something, proving something. It's like you've been trained to see stillness as suspicious, and worse, selfish. Existentialist philosopher Albert Camus once said, "A man's work is nothing but this slow trek to rediscover, through the detours of art, those 2 or 3 great and simple images in whose presence his heart first opened." You read that once in college, back when you thought productivity meant purpose. But maybe the detour is the point. Maybe the images that opened your heart were never at the finish line, but scattered along the way. Quiet mornings, bad coffee, with good friends, a song that made you forget what day it was. Still, it's hard to accept that rest doesn't need permission, because deep down, there's that quiet voice that asks, if I stop now, who will pick up the slack? And beneath that, something darker. If I stop, will anyone notice I'm gone? You sit with that one longer than you meant to. You think about the 5-minute break you postponed 6 hours ago. The walk you didn't take because it felt indulgent. The unread book on your nightstand, dog-eared, at the same chapter for 3 months now. You're not lazy. You're just stuck in a loop where rest is the reward and the work is never done. There's a kind of grief in that, a quiet mourning for all the moments you postponed, the ones you promised you'd enjoy after the next big thing. But the big thing keeps getting redefined. First it was school, then your first job, then getting stable, then getting better, and now you're just trying to keep up. You think about that one weekend when you actually turned off your phone. You remember how time stretched out. You watched a bird hop from fence to fence for no reason. You made toast slowly. You breathed like someone who didn't owe the world anything. You weren't more or less yourself that weekend, just less rushed. In Buddhism, there's the idea of samsara, the endless cycle of craving, clinging, and becoming. Not just reincarnation, but the everyday spiral of always chasing the next thing. You don't have to be religious to feel the truth settle in your chest. The loop of almost there is a quiet trap. You lie on your back again, arms above your head, like you're surrendering, like you're tired of negotiating with time. And in this moment, something soft opens up. What if you didn't need to finish everything in order to rest? It feels radical, like walking out of a meeting before it's done, not out of disrespect, but out of respect for yourself. You think of Audre Lorde, who once said, caring for myself is not self-indulgence, it is self-preservation. You remember seeing that quote, printed on a sticker in a bookstore, and brushing it off at the time. But now, in this quiet, dark room, it rings louder, because this isn't about laziness. It's about permission to exist without proving, to pause without guilt. You're still tired. You still hear the echo of the day leftover thoughts, like dishes in the sink. But there's something else now, too, a faint reminder that the world won't crumble if you stop for a breath. Maybe you were never supposed to earn your break. Maybe the break was already yours. You just forgot how to take it. And maybe the rest of the list can wait until morning. You close your eyes. And this time, you don't bargain. You don't promise you'll be better tomorrow. You just let go. Not forever, just for now. You show up. That's what you do. You smile when someone asks how you're doing, and you answer with a practiced, doing okay, even when that's not even close. Your voice doesn't crack. Your posture doesn't fold. But your coffee's always cold by the time you remember to drink it. It's a small thing, but it says everything. You used to think you were just forgetful, that you got distracted. But lately, you've started to notice that cold coffee is more like a symptom, a quiet indicator that you're somewhere else managing, calculating, holding it all together in places no one sees. People think you're functioning. They admire how balanced you are. You even tell yourself the same thing sometimes. But under the surface, there's an ache, a worn-out thread you've been tugging on for too long. And some days, you wonder what would happen if it finally snapped. Still, you keep performing. There's an art to it. Knowing exactly how much eye contact to give, how to sound upbeat but not fake, how to mention being a little tired in a way that won't invite concern. You've become fluent in this language, a kind of emotional autopilot, and it works until it doesn't, until the moment in the grocery store when you blank on why you're in the frozen aisle. Until you realize you haven't texted back your closest friend in a week. Until you find yourself staring at the ceiling again, asking, how long have I been like this? The philosopher Friedrich Nietzsche once wrote, invisible threads are the strongest ties. He was talking about how unseen forces guide our lives. Beliefs, guilt, fear. You feel those threads tightening every time you have to pretend. Every time your exhaustion says please, but your mouth says, sure, no problem. There's a moment that stays with you, small, forgettable even. Someone asked if you were okay, and without thinking, you said yes. But something about the way they looked at you made you pause. You wondered if they saw it, the drag in your voice, the half-second delay in your smile. It's hard to let people in when you're the one everyone leans on. You don't want to disappoint. You don't want to be dramatic. So you keep showing up. You keep playing the role. But it's getting harder to remember the last time you truly felt rested in your own body. Not just less tired, but held, supported by something deeper than adrenaline and muscle memory. Stoics believed in the concept of ataraxia, a state of serene calm, unbothered by external chaos. You've been craving that kind of calm, not the absence of responsibility, but the freedom to tell the truth of where you are without fear. It will unravel everything you've built. But what would that even look like? To walk into a room and say, "Actually, I'm not okay right now." To let your exhaustion be visible. To say no without guilt. To be loved without performing. You wonder, would they still accept you if they saw the version that didn't smile? You think they might, but it's not just about them, is it? It's about you too. It's about learning to accept that sometimes your energy isn't enough, that sometimes showing up for yourself has to matter more than showing up for the world. You remember a story about Carl Jung, how he used to retreat alone to a stone tower he built by hand. No electricity, no phone, just silence. He said it was the only place he could hear himself again. You used to think that sounded dramatic. Now it sounds necessary. You start to wonder if maybe the version of you that's falling apart a little is the truest one. Not broken, just real, just tired of being edited. And here in the dark, you feel something loosen. You don't have to fall apart all at once, but maybe you can set something down tonight. Maybe you can stop holding your breath for the version of rest that looks perfect. Maybe this slow exhale, this letting the coffee grow cold again, is its own kind of grace. You don't have to name everything right now. You don't have to be okay. You just have to be honest. You pull the blanket closer. The weight of it reminds you that you're here, still breathing, still showing up, but maybe differently this time. Not polished, not perfect, just present. You never thought rest could be an act of rebellion, but maybe that's what it is now. Not giving up, not checking out, just refusing to treat your worth like something you have to prove every hour of the day. There's a quiet power in that. You lie there, same room, same fan, same distant hum of the city, but something feels different. Not the outside, you, the part of you that's been quietly asking, what if I don't keep running tonight? It's not a grand gesture. There's no epiphany, no light from the heavens, just a shift, a single degree in a new direction. You let your breath slow, not because an app tells you to, not to hit a mindfulness goal, but because this body has carried you through more than you've ever thanked it for. There's no perfect posture for this, no routine, no step-by-step checklist, just you under covers finally realizing that rest isn't an escape from your life. It's part of how you live it. Simone Weil, who lived with more intensity than most, once said, "Attention is the rarest and purest form of generosity." You always thought that meant paying attention to others. But maybe, just maybe, it starts with you. What would it mean to give yourself your own attention? To notice your tired thoughts without judging them? To feel your shoulders soften and not immediately ask, "What now?" To reclaim rest as a right, not a reward. The world doesn't pause. You know that. The bills still come. The inbox still grows. Somewhere, someone is already running toward the next thing. But maybe you don't have to. Maybe radical rest isn't about slowing the world. It's about refusing to speed up just to keep pace with its chaos. In Taoism, there's an image of a river, always flowing, always in motion, but never rushing, never resisting the shape of its banks. That's what you imagine. Now not stopping, not stagnating, but allowing. letting yourself flow instead of force. You've always believed healing had to be hard. That change only counted if it came with sweat. But tonight, something inside you whispers, what if softness is the harder thing? What if that's the strength you've been ignoring? You roll over not to escape the thoughts, but to face them. You think of a quote from the poet Rainer Maria Rilke. Let everything happen to you, beauty and terror. Just keep going. No feeling is final. You hold on to that last part, not because it promises safety, but because it gives you space. No feeling is final, so maybe this restless ache isn't permanent either. Maybe it's just a door, and maybe rest is how you walk through it. You let the quiet come closer. Let the tension fade without needing to name it. You don't owe anyone performance here, not even yourself. That's the wildest thing. You don't have to become someone new tonight. You can just be the version of you who finally let go. There will still be hard mornings, still be moments where the list wins, still be days when you forget everything you remembered here. But for now, for this one night, you are allowed to breathe like you belong to yourself. Not because you finished everything, not because you earned it, but because you're here, and that's enough. The room hasn't changed. Same soft shadows across the walls, same quiet hush of air moving through the fan blades. But something inside you feels quieter now, a kind of quiet that doesn't ask for anything. You're not fixed, not transformed, just softer around the edges, a little more willing to let the day go without squeezing every last ounce of meaning from it. And isn't that enough for tonight? Outside, the streetlights blink slow. The refrigerator hums. The clock keeps time, but for once, you don't feel like you have to race it. You let your body melt into the mattress, not because it's perfect, but because it's allowed. Because maybe this right here is what healing sounds like. The sound of not rushing, not solving, not trying, just being. The way the blanket folds around your legs, the way your breath evens without effort, the way nothing demands your attention anymore except this moment, holding you like a lullaby. This is where the noise ends. This is where you return to yourself. Not the polished version, not the one they see, just you, still breathing, still here. Still allowed to rest. No more to carry, no more to prove. Just this quiet, just this night, just this one slow exhale.